Should I say that we are out of the tunnel and it's an Ask Me Anything grab bag here on Trekland Tuesdays Live with Dr. Trek Larry Nemecek, episode 244. A special format today. It's a lot of things happening. More Star Trek announced for the future without details, and the loss of a landmark to Star Trek in the big band era, the Hotel Pennsylvania, aka the Statler Hilton from 1972's first that we just commemorated 50 years ago, the first Star Trek convention, big one, is coming down. That's already got me in a mood, both coming and going, lots of Star Trek. Everybody's populating the chat over here. I have an hour today. So we'll do an AMA. So jump right in with the chat. Normally, all you newcomers, I'll have a theme. Yeah, then we'll take a quick break. And we will do the parrot analytics along the way too. And then get to the chat. But this is a different one. There's so much going on and yet so little going on in Star Trek. I couldn't really come up with a topic aside from the ones I just mentioned. We can talk about that. We can talk about anything else here for an abbreviated version. It'll look longer on YouTube, but it's an abbreviation in real life, in live. So let's jump right in here. Hey, Johannes. Hey, good to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a while. Survival is insufficient, right? What do you think of such Trekness proliferating into the mainstream media? I think I may have missed the setup. I thought you were going to ask me about too much Star Trek. As long as the Star Treks are end to end, I think what they're doing though is getting us set up. The TCAs, the Television Critics Association tour happening. The headline I mentioned about you think 5 series is something? Hold on. I think that's getting us set up for the idea that they love having no excuse for Trek fans to stop subscribing to Paramount Plus, and that's going to be the base of the Paramount Plus subscriber base for a while until there's some other out of the park hit that they can lean on. And they're already getting there. They already have the network assets. They've already got the Paramount and CBS, the CBS Live. So it's not like they're creeping along like it's 2017 still. I don't think we're going to see overlapping series, at least not to the degree that the train wreck we've got now because of COVID and the delays in the supply chain and all of that. But when things are running smoothly, if they're allowed to, we won't have, I don't think they're going to overlap in the same way that DS9 and Voyager took away from each other's audiences back in the day, even though that was on a completely different model. It was network TV and you had the VCR, all of that. This whole thing about going and getting them anytime on a streaming app is a totally different paradigm, but still, for the first big bang of each episode, no matter what series, there's nothing like having that spotlight all to itself. For social media now, much less mainstream advertising. So they're just making the announcements, the suits, and then Alex Kurtzman later specifically talking about, yes, Section 31 is still there, and another show which he is staying tight-lipped about. Could that be Academy? Could that be the SETI Alpha 6 in between Space Seed and Wrath of Khan series? Or something else, totally different. We'll see. We'll see soon enough. It may also be getting used to the idea of the current shows, even the ones just getting launched, eventually will retire. And I'm looking at you, Picard, which I always thought was meant to be a 3-year show. Maybe spinning off the characters, heaven forbid, that's never been done before in Star Trek, but getting you used to the idea that maybe 5 is a maximum, maybe 6. Maybe if the animations get really sophisticated and Nick Trek takes one on its own, or they double up there for that market, but we'll see. But that was the news today. That was the headline of that. But as far as what they're doing, they're being very savvy about it. No one wants to go back to those too much Trek, as Rick used to say, going to the once too many trips to the well. So we will see. Yes, thanks everybody for your patience in joining me after our first startup today. It's all about Restream not playing well with Firefox, but they're playing well with Chrome for some reason, as of 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Captain Calvin, the action. I usually don't get into merchandise because I'm thinking about what's actually on the tube, what's the source material. But yeah. The Playmates figures looks like 1995 never ended. I saw those pictures. As a matter of fact, yes. That reminds me, I've got something fun to do next week. Yeah. Hey, William, the Xanadu cover Glenn Miller too. Absolutely. Hey, do I think that we actually will get a Star Trek Academy show? It's funny that you sound so anxious, Captain Calvin, because for many years people ballyhooed this. Oh, it's going to be 90210. We're going to have angsty teenagers in space. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the pressures surrounding that potential happening are out there now. I think everybody's pretty savvy about what Star Trek is and isn't going to be, and it might lean that way, but I don't think, as much as people want to bitch and moan about the current leadership, I don't think anyone wants to go to that danger. For one thing, a lot of the people out there in the writing producing mix are fans who came up through fandom worried about a Starfleet 90210 show and heard all the griping, and I'm sure felt the same way. So we're not going to waste the powerful. Look at Prodigy. You really want to see those kids who are being affected positively by Prodigy wind up with an overaged teen soap opera? I don't think so. So good deal. Johannes, you saw me talking about Station 11. Wow, we just binged Station 11. I want Station 12 and 13 and 14 now, which apparently isn't a thing. They're not doing it with franchise in mind, which is probably going to make the original special. But wow. It was a show for the prophets. Boy, it was very nonlinear. I kept expecting someone to start glowing in amber and talk about the Kristen and the Tyler, but that didn't happen. No prophets. But hardly recommend Station. But you have to stick with it. You have to pay attention. It hops back and forth. But it's a cautionary tale. And the fact that it was a book written years ago, 5, 6, 10 years ago, and produced before 2020, if you get my meaning, is all the more incredible. It's as incredible as the way Discovery Season 3 turned out to be debuted during a pandemic. Yep. Well, Glenn, sometimes the weirdest situations turn out to be the best. So there you go. Hey, Nathaniel, your previous question. Don't know if I want to address the Whoopi situation, but has any Trek person had a similar foot in mouth moment? Oh, I'm sure they have. I remember Sir Patrick had a very foot in mouth moment. I think he was feeling his actor anxiety oats back in the day. I mean, 94 at the ending of Next Generation. I can say this now. He basically, if you were live at the Creation Grand Slam convention in Pasadena in 94, which before the experience was the granddaddy summit of Star Trek for 5-10 years until Las Vegas took the crown. A little girl, a teenage girl, had written, a crush letter and got it to him basically, and very sincerely, very naively, had basically said, I would love to talk to you more if you have the time. I know, totally inappropriate, but it was more just naively unaware. It was sweet more than it was inappropriate and stalkerly. But he basically, kind of made fun of the girl and gave her a hotel room number out on stage and the whole thing. And we were all kind of going, "Ooh, Patrick." I think it was the anxious actor in him talking. And I think, and most of the time we don't associate that with Sir Patrick. We associate all the good stuff in the world and all the right, forward-looking causes and all of that. So yeah, it wasn't out in the world, wasn't on TV, wasn't in front of a camera, and it sure wasn't on social media. So it was a live moment. And for all the things to pull out of my hat, that's one of them. And I'm sure I'm sure lots of people have had those. If you kind of had a moment. I mean, I'm not talking about, Stephen Collins and his little problem with underage people. No, we're not talking about that or some other things that have, done that. I think a lot of other actors have probably had moments where they wish they could take something back that came out inappropriately. But no, it's not about to be that. Yeah, Jared, this is what I tried to say in 2017 that it's going to evolve and change. And part of it was that's the price you pay for being cutting edge. Paramount Plus, remember? Before Disney Plus, before go down the line, before Peacock, before all of these, CBS actually limped into this whole thing of the content makers streaming before everybody else, but they didn't bring their heavyweight back catalog the way Disney Plus did when they launched. Here, hold my beer, blam. So it's going to be there, and it'll take a while for all this to assimilate. But the attitude of the mainstream in 5 years has definitely caught up. And a lot of people, they can't bellyache about the idea of paying for Star Trek or more content. It's the reality. It's just now they see all the choices, and it's the flack is not all directed at Paramount and at Star Trek. It's now it can be the culture and media in general. But people now know they just have to, if they've got tight budgets, they just have to make priorities, as with anything. And that's painful to a lot of people. And eventually we'll have corporate bundling, and we'll get back to where cable was. But at least it's not Star Trek's fault. And for a lot of folks, it'll be number one priority. And if the slide away from Netflix keeps happening, and even maybe Prime, but if especially Netflix as the original king of all this, as the content makers pull their stuff off of Netflix, we could have a big re-reckoning of how people do allocate that way. They should, you're on to this. They should restore the building and call it Xanadu. Too late, William. Too late. Yes. Linda, it wasn't the wrong setting. It was my main browser. I hate Chrome. I hate Chrome with a passion. And I only go to Chrome when one or two people make me go there. One is a screener system. One is, I think, some bank I have somewhere, some financial thing. And now, apparently, to use Restream, I have to use Chrome, at least for the time being. Let's see. Oh, JR, how kind of you. Saturday's Life Support Live was brilliant. You really enjoyed the topic. Well, that's great. We thought we had kind of a weak sister the week before, so I'm glad we bounced back. Not big time, but I'm glad you enjoyed that. Glad it was helpful. Yeah, there you go, Jared. It's another way of looking at supporting, exactly. Buying all those paper novels all those years. Wow. Hey, Captain Calvin, your newspaper said John Hopkins said no lives were saved during lockdown. You're talking about the German lockdown, I think. You're talking about your native one. But it's not peer-reviewed. So did we lose the opportunity of getting rid of COVID? Oh, boy, we're just going to wade in here, huh? If so, and this is what you get for writing a long... Oh, come on. If so, could there have been an opportunity if we'd stayed in a strong heart and long lockdown? My God, you're talking about Germany. Have you seen the States and our floppy, wimpy, section by section reaction to all this? That was the idea. Look, that's what happened with jumping on H1N1 and jumping on the last 2 or 3 outbreaks, none of which really either in China or Africa. Ebola, remember that? How scary that was? The flesh-eating bacteria. We jumped on those right away, but we did it in populations where they arose, where the people went, oh, it's a killer virus. Let's do what they tell us. And did the lockdowns and snuffed them out. They were scary, but limited the exposure. Unfortunately, here we had way too much virus and too many places that had freedom. And so there you go. Hi, Alyssa. Are you new with us this week? I don't know, but hello. Have I tried turning my holodeck on and off? Actually, yes, I did. And I went to a different room. Yeah. Thank you, Melanie, by the way. Hey, Marina. This is in the flux here. Am I planning to have my own table or panel at the upcoming Mission Chicago? There was a post from them advising vendor and fan participation. Right. I didn't see the vendor, but there's something going on that front on several levels. I want to be there, but I need to be smart about it. So hopefully so. Hopefully so. It's a whole new paradigm. Fandom's getting used to the idea of maybe not a lot of actors advertised, guests advertised, until very close to the convention. That's a Reed Pop thing. We have Portal 47 Ask Dr. Trek roundtable tomorrow night, so I hope you're there. We can talk about the onrush of Chicago and what it is and isn't. But so far, nothing definite, but we're going that way, which is kind of the shape of the whole convention at this point, 2 months out. 2 months. I know. I do too. Any Star Trek show, if done right, can be amazing, as we've been showing the Doubting Thomases here with not one but two different styles of animation. But then, Christoph, you're right. When will we get an actual Starfleet Academy, not the show? Yes, Cairo, I know. The outward traditional signs made you wonder, but Chicago, and I've tried to say this the last few months, Chicago is, barring a huge eruption of COVID or COVID plus, or whatever that would be, Lambda, Mu, Nu, Xi, Omicron, Pi. Yeah, the Pi variant. No, we're not going to do that. Or the Rho? No, we wouldn't do that to Ensign Rho. The Sigma? Oh, that sounds scary. The Sigma variant. Yeah. Barring the Sigma variant popping up in our faces and more, Chicago's happening. Brent, any plans to digitize those interview tapes? They'd make a good podcast. Brent, I don't. That's what my project called Trekland on Speaker. These bad boys, I got 5 of these done with barely 6 hours of, I don't know, 400 or 500 hours up there. If you go look at my store on LarryNemecek.com, you'll see some of the boxes of cassette tapes from the 90s and the aughts that, need to be digitized very quickly. I started to get it done, and then it bogged down for, favor of the other projects. Are my deadlines Trek project? Yeah, nothing big, John X. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. Just routine stuff. It just all clumped up right here at the end of the month together. But I can say that I'll tell you in a minute, but we're coming out of hiatus for Trek Files. Trek Files will be back February 8th, a week from today. So there's something around the bend. If a Starfleet show is led by Mary Wiseman, it would... Oh, you mean in the cast? I was like, well, I don't know if they're going to let Mary produce and write, but okay. There you go. That's true. That might be part of what the thing is. They may have had an idea for an Academy show before, and the last year's evolution has maybe altered that. We'll have to see. Oh, Marley, what do I think of Star Trek Prodigy? You've only seen 2 episodes, but it feels and looks fantastic. Oh, keep watching. Keep watching. I think everybody else will chime in here, too. They probably already have. Akiva Goldsman said a show is following Section 31. Yep, that's kind of what they intimated today. Yes. Glenn, a Starfleet Academy show would be fantastic, especially since they've been casting 20-somethings who look like teenagers in leads in most sci-fi fantasy shows these days anyway. Exactly. I don't know if it would wind up on the CW, though. I think they'll pretty much keep it for Paramount Plus. Stephen, I overlooked this. They said curated editions of Star Trek coming to Paramount Plus. Well, curated means we've gone back to a collection and pulled certain segments out. So I don't know. You're not thinking this is the announcement about HDing DS9 and or Voyager, are you? That would be a huge leap. Or maybe selected episodes of DS9 and Voyager? Curated editions. That's a load. You're right. That's a loaded question. I didn't see that in the first blast. You know what, Captain Calvin? I'm going to let somebody else do it. I'm not. I'm not. No, I'm not getting to it. Section 31 announcement coming soon. Yeah, there we go. Johnny, you're alive, my friend. Good to see you. We have overdue conversations. Oh, very funny, Melanie. Yeah, we have Xanadu. Yeah, it's not going to happen, but with Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta to cut the ribbon. Yeah. Well, Rose, do I think Gene had foresight about Neil and Buzz and Apollo 11 on the moon and the Apollo program when he wrote No Man's Gone before? Well, the moon program, Kennedy said we're going to land on the moon in a decade in 1961 or 62. So 1963, 4, everyone was going. Everybody was full of the Kennedy optimism, even after he was assassinated. But the space program was one of those monuments to John F. Kennedy that was going forward. Plus, it was the Cold War. And sadly, I love to think of the space program as apolitical, but it did have spending all that money in the 60s from square zero for nothing. It did have, Cold War paranoia. Cold War fever behind the go fever to get to the moon. So not specifically, but I think the basic, by the time he wrote that, wrote No Man's Gone Before in 65, the basic ideas of how it would be a relay system and the lunar module would be the lander with, all that was pretty much out there being refined, but that was the go-to program. Yes, I know, Cairo. It's supposedly coming. I know it's very, very, very controversial still. And John X, yeah, you went where I did on that whole thing about. She said the Holocaust wasn't about race and got told that's not right. She's probably trying to split the hair between religion and race, but that's true. Aside from the Jews and aside from the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Roma people, Slavs were in concentration camp. A lot of Eastern Europeans, Jewish and not, were there. The Jews were by far the target group, but sadly, tragically. But anyway, and there you go, to come full circle on it. Whoopi's apology. There you go. And you're just wanting everything on Blu-ray. I know. I'm waiting, just for when the EMP pulse comes, from whatever reason, and all of our streaming goes blank for a while. Oh, funny, Nathaniel. When you think Xanadu, it's that venue off Fairfax near Farmers Market in the Olivia Newton-John movie. Well, we're kind of getting muddled there all the time. Hi, Narda. I appreciate you sitting back and listening quietly, but you jump in whenever you want to. Yeah, I should have said this. This is not WebMD, much less the AMA or the Lancet. So how about that for being global? So right. Hey, Alan, good to see you. Thank you, Mr. Patreon. One of them. Hello, Jerry. Are you new to us here on Tuesdays? Glad to see you. You never had a problem paying for Star Trek streaming. Always cutting edge programming. With TNG, it was syndication, and with Voyager, it was a new network. Yeah, I mean, what bothered people was whether it was syndicated or a new network, you sat at home and just let it come to you. Now, what a lot of people weren't realizing was they were paying for cable, and that cable money was getting back to both of these. The syndication was on market to market, and maybe it was on a broadcast station, or maybe it was on a UHF station you needed to buy a UHF antenna for, or you just gave up and you took cable to even get your local UHF station. It's all moot now, except they're, the news and sports and weather are targeted to local markets. Otherwise, local stations, the local programming, so much of that is sadly gone away, that the broadcast code and the FCC used to enforce about having things be local always and not just spoon-fed national. And the mega like Sinclair and the mega groups of stations enforce a national flavor on their locals, where you're losing all the local slant, the local texture. But yeah, you were paying for those. You just didn't feel it up front on your itemized bill every month the way you do now with the streaming app. Oh, thank you, Johannes. The Ebola outbreak had fake news and conspiracy theories and witchcraft. Yeah. And, well, that's probably true. That's very true. The West only really cared. You could say it's somewhere between caring and on their radar, hashtag first world problems. Well, it wasn't. But yeah, the reaction now is because so many people were ignorant of those outbreaks in the aughts and teens. Oh, wow. This is above my pay grade, Stingray. The movie studios like CBS Viacom being bought up by big tech, like Apple, like Google, like Amazon. Except Amazon's got Prime, but they want to go through the built up infrastructure. Is there a company I'd like to see own pieces of Trek with the rumors of Apple or Comcast Universal? It's interesting because, Universal's got all the NBC links, but some of that is it's blurring now with all these mega mergers and mega buyouts. I feel like Comcast Universal is going to be, it's not so old school. Comcast Universal owns, NBC. The Tonight Show comes from Universal City now, not old NBC Burbank. Of those two, I'd probably lean to Apple. We're going to have to shake down a lot, though, on big tech. We're going to have to let them quit being the golden children of business and culture. This is far above my pay grade, but and viewed on that scale, little prizes like CBS Viacom, might be just fruit in the bucket here compared to what the big picture they could have. Is that a new metaphor I just created? Fruit in the bucket. Anyway, small fish in the big scope of things. But, between those two, I'd rather see Apple. If Universal is even going to consider owning NBC and CBS, and then what's the point? General Sarnoff and Bill Paley are just rolling in their graves if that would happen. The founders of the Columbia Broadcasting System. And this is the National Broadcasting System. Oh, hi, Tobias. Good to see you, and glad you enjoy. Thanks. Hey, Stephen, I know this is what I'm being told from my sources. It's that just the way Reed Pop does Comic-Cons and even Star Wars. It's like it's all about the event, not the guests. And you're just supposed to show up and enjoy what they give you. You're supposed to come for the eventedness, not looking on who's on the list. And maybe Star Trek fandom gets there, but right now that's not Star Trek fandom. So yeah, you've had these persistent rumors and hesitations, and COVID hasn't helped at all this year. But even moving forward, you've got people wondering, skepticism, much less in April and in Chicago. And next year it'll be a different city. And will it be that same time window when it's not the summer and people are freer to have vacations? We will see. We will see. The Unicron variant sounds bad too. Would Starfleet Academy come up against the complaint that it doesn't go anywhere, doesn't do exploring? Oh, like early DS9. Well, yes, but you have cadets. You have cadets doing away missions for training, short range. You have cadets doing their semester away, assigned on random ships, or maybe even on random planets. Is that how we finally get to Teller Prime? I don't know. Somewhere between Jaglam and somewhere between the engineer on Chakotay's ship, which is the Protostar, or maybe his current ship. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Maybe the Tellarite engineer with Chakotay is a long lost father to Jaglam. That will be. Let's not even go there, Stephen. Text Trekkie, let's just not even go. But if we do, then I'm sure later on we can have the double. We can have the double alpha and the double gamma, and the double omega sounds twice as scary. Yeah. As long as we don't get COV pi. Well, thank you for your enthusiasm, John X. We are very much coming back for season 8 next week. I can finally say yes. Oh, William, I'm glad you didn't. That might have been inappropriate. A hug, maybe, but it was a lot of fun having the nod there. It was fun getting to be the token Trek bigwig at SoonerCon that got to interview her. We had a fun time. I kind of had some questions, and then Larry, okay, let's do this. Fine. Wow, 2019. That seemed like a pandemic ago. Wow. Your Starfleet Academy in Bottrop is just the front for a roller coaster. There's a few of those hanging around the States too. Looking forward to the cliffhanger for the cliffhanger. Yeah, you're talking about the Prodigy mid-season finale? Yeah. Let's see. It's bottom of the hour, so I'm going to interrupt and do the parrots, gang. This is a different kind of format today, so partly by plan and partly by accident. So let's do a real quick look. I'm just going to jump in and tell you, the Parrot Analytics company out of New Zealand came up with a way to measure all these digital streaming channels that don't need and don't want the Nielsen ratings because they don't have commercials that need ad rates set. It leaves the audience not knowing, the way we have since the dawn of radio, much less TV, what's the most popular show, at least if you trust that rating system. Well, here, this week on the Parrots, which uses a metric called average demand expression, basically they scour the internet looking for all kinds of, it's basically a mention popularity contest. They're saying if it's being talked about, it must be popular. On a little more refined level than that, and with something resembling statistical polling to factor that. But the top 10 on the digitals only this week is Cobra Kai, coming in at 53.7 times more popular than an average show. All of these are in the top 2.5%. The average show is at 50, but it's an amalgam of a category that's from 25 to about 75% of the popularity range that their average demand expression brings in. Measured weekly, and in this case, I'm talking about the U.S. They post their U.S. stats. They actually post a lot of other countries too. I look at the U.S. It's free, parentanalytics.com. I got nothing in the game for them. But Cobra Kai is first. Then The Witcher, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Ozark, Stranger Things, Peacemaker. I've got to give that a look. Hawkeye, Titans, and Ted Lasso for various and sundry reasons. But real quick, that's the digitals only. So, Prodigy in the top 10, but then, Prodigy rankings go way on down. In fact, Prodigy this week was sitting at 17, whereas the bottom show here was at 28.4, number 10 show, Ted Lasso. So what are they, at the bottom of the second 20, maybe? But they're in there. In fact, the trend line, now that's the last 30 days popularity rank, is 17. The trend line is up. In fact, the trend line has been up on Prodigy for the last 3 weeks. Not a spike, but it's been a gradual up. The 60-day average trend line has been up, and they are still hanging in at 95.3% over 30 days. the most popular action adventure. All right. Meanwhile, you're thinking, what about Picard? Picard's around the corner. In lieu of that, Picard is already at 17 or holding in. It's at 15.1 times uh, more popular. All these shows are in their outstanding category, their upper 2.5%. So all the Star Treks are in the upper 2.5%, according to Parrot Analytics. And Picard's trend line zoomed up and then it's still up. We got the trailers coming. It's the trend line of the last 60 days. It'll be interesting to see what all the trailer releases and the excitement around there is doing for Picard. I didn't check Prodigy. I didn't check Discovery, but the excitement's building for the return of Discovery too. The second part of their season that was interrupted due to post delays. The overall parrots for terrestrial and digital. SpongeBob is still number one at 63 and change. Then Euphoria, and then Saturday Night Live, then Cobra Kai, then South Park, Attack on Titan, The Witcher, Game of Thrones, Book of Boba Fett, and The Mandalorian. Again, this is the professional, this is the studio promo, this is the critics, this is the fan chatter across all the internet in a 5-day window. There you go. There's the parrots. I'm going to, we'll do another 20 minutes here of AMA today. Special elongated version is going to wind up on YouTube here today, and we'll have all the chat in. So let's jump in and see real questions, guys. We're back to it. Real questions, okay? That's what they do, Captain Calvin. They hire one of the actors to come over to get publicity, to be a magnet for getting the press out. Did the same thing with Star Trek Experience. When Paramount Parks had all of their corporate-owned parks here before they sold a lot of them to Cedar Fair, including Vegas. But the Carowinds had the Borg roller coaster back in the day. Could curated editions be HD or 4K? This, just guessing, no inside info. It's the first thing that came to my mind, Cairo. And maybe it's selected. What's your top 10, top 20 episodes? Do you do the pilot and the finale, and then you do the war arc? Do you do Trials and Tribulations? Do you do Our Man Bashir and Little Green Men? And I mean, what do you do? Pale Moonlight? I could off top of my head think of the top 10 or 12 or 15 popular ones, and then the money raised from those might eventually pop it. Voyager. I'm sure we could think of some popular shows. Ooh, slap me. Okay. Yeah, the finale, the pilot, Year of Hell, Flashback, on down the list. Nope. This is not. They're not having trouble getting real guests. I know for a fact they have many guests signed, but the idea, they're not looking. It's 3 days. And even though Vegas Creation has cut back to 4 days, which was wise, Reed Pop is not looking to emulate or copy the Vegas model. They do not care to have 100 guests listed. And of course, CBS and they will want to have really the majority of guests representing the live shows. I've heard there's 5 now. And voice actors are very used to going to anime cons from their other projects. So they're no stranger to convention life either. So, yes. Curated sounds more like an uprising. Sounds like more than uprising, but also adding commentary. No, could be. It could be just commentary tracks too. So we'll see. If you had to pick one Star Trek production, introduce a scientist friend to Trek. You mean an overall production? Wow. I don't know. I'd almost say Prodigy. That may be, because everything else I think of hundreds of episodes. I don't know. Maybe Next Generation. Next Generation is a safe one. They're really leaning into the science all the way since they started off fresh with Mike and Rick's, science anomalies, real science anomalies, problems, dangers for writers. We'll see. Hell yeah, Melanie. Lift the mask mandate in California next week. Oh, I had not heard that. Maybe that's regional. We have a bunch of N95s on order as well. What are you saying here, Justin? With all the new Trek coming out, you're no longer using excuses of being too lazy to cancel P plus. Yeah, maybe that ship has sailed. Uh, that's cute, Captain. You call Marina the Mirror Universe Troy? That's funny. That's funny. I wonder if she's ever heard that. Hello, Dan. I think you've been with us before, but if not, welcome to Tuesdays. Do you think we'll see new trailers for Trek during the Super Bowl? Oh, I bet so. I don't think that's new. I think the last time CBS had the Super Bowl, how do you not utilize the Super Bowl for that kind of thing? I remember the year that NBC had the Super Bowl and the other thing is advertising during the Super Bowl, and then if you're a broadcast network, NBC or CBS or Fox, whatever, do you use the post Super Bowl window to promote or launch a new show? There have been several series that were launched in the window after the Super Bowl, and they've all left me. But one I remember was ongoing, but they used the Super Bowl post window to promote a 3D special episode of Chuck, which had many Star Trek people working on it. Rodney McNeil was a supervising director producer. David Trotty was as an assistant director. Dan Curry did visual effects. There were a lot of Trek people that worked on some of the extras were from Trek people extras. Let's see. What we got here? We got 20 minutes, 15 minutes. This is kind of an interesting question. What do I think would be the most outlandish Trek idea? I don't know. Come up with something, because the minute you say it, you can think of something else more outlandish. Give me 10 seconds. And that's kind of an unending, that's kind of a infinity box right there. Hey, Vicky. Hello. Are you new to Tuesdays also? Anyway, welcome. You don't think it's right to charge for Paramount Plus without live CBS TV? I thought Paramount Plus does have, when you put your address in, they locate the local CBS channel to you. And I thought there is a capacity for live CBS TV in Paramount Plus. Is there not? I thought that was part of the deal. We cut cable about 4 or 5 years ago. Yes. And you live in rural area? Yes, absolutely. Rural areas. Right. Supposedly, one of the things of Build Back Better was to bring actual Wi-Fi to strengthen Wi-Fi in rural areas, so you guys aren't second-class citizens. I grew up in a place that could be considered not way, way out in the boonies, but just boony enough. And I know pretty close to how you feel, and knew plenty of other people who were boonified. So good on you that we've got streaming and apps and all that, and you're depending on the Wi-Fi now. Also, for people who are in canyons and mountains, it's the same thing. P Plus International announcement would be excellent Super Bowl commercial for the non-US stations only. I don't know how they break that down, Christoph, but I guess the Austrian Portales would spread the word before normal Europeans wake up that morning. So you're saying that my Austrian Portales are not normal Europeans? Is that what you're saying? I kind of knew that anyway. Typical might be the more PC word there. Hey, Brian. I know you've been with us before, but good to see you. Any theories about the timeline for Prodigy? Yes, obviously time travel is involved. Janeway. Now here's again, gang. It's the 2020s now. It's not even the 2010s. And if you're really into these shows, these young some of them aren't that young. These creators with Instagram and Twitter accounts, you need to be following. Aaron Walke is all over the place, and he's answering questions, and I need to snare him for one of our shows. But somebody said, hey, that was a 6-digit star date Janeway rattled off in Prodigy. And when it flew by, my first thought was, ah. And then I thought, no, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Between Dr. Aaron and Dr. Mohammed and David Mack, who are all friends of mine and all good consultants, and with the think tank they've got internally, including himself, because he answered this, Aaron came back and said, basically, it was kind of hinted like that was no mistake. Like, that's too glaring an item for a show that took 2 years to develop, to let get to air. So I think the hint was that that was some crazy. Yes, there's some kind of time travel going on. We already know that the timeline didn't work out for the diviner to have that star date chasing the ship in linear time. Night for third season Next Generation era for late 42 42 XXX star dates. We don't. There's no way that can work out in real time, because the Janeway wasn't a captain, wasn't famous, wouldn't have cared. The protostar didn't match the technology of that time. So some kind of time hopping's going on. Other than that, I'm not going to get. I'll just let them spoon feed me. Let's see. Yeah. Yes. Who remembers that? When AOL was the big dog. Oh my God. And bought Time Warner, AOL Time Warner. And what was it? Like 2 years was all it took for the .com crash, and Time Warner. It's like, wait, please, please. Yes, absolutely. There you go. It's hard not to be by the time you've got Europeans who have been, occupying that land for 1,000 years actively. Hey, Stephen, this is awesome. Had to readjust your parents' TV antenna on top of the house to get blurry UPN for Voyager and Enterprise back in the day. Yeah, yeah. As much as I loved my shelf right here, where I had my 2 episodes a week that I faithfully recorded from day one of Next Gen, recorded without commercials, pause. I had a 4-head VCR that I bought specifically that had expert gearing in the buttons, so that when I hit pause, there was no to back up, forward, back up, forward. When it paused, and when it unpaused, it unpaused. And I could even do frame advance, so that when the bumper came up, remember, it's like nothing we've seen before, Captain. Dum da da dum, and then you got the TNG bumper, dum da da dum da da dum, and then it went to commercial. I did it where I would click it off and back it up, so that we didn't even have the bumper. It ended with, now sometimes you saw the ghosty blue, but it ended with the drama and then picked right up. I did that for 18 friggin' years on whatever 4-head VCR I hadn't worn out yet. And to have 2 episodes to tape, because you did it on fast speed for the best quality, so that when you paused on a 4-head VCR on a tape on fast speed, you could read the acoudigrams, which I was doing in 1988 and putting in my concordances before anybody else was thinking about trying. So there you are, LaCool and your sister ship, Ambassador Fox, or whatever his name was. Yeah, I know. The sentimentality of all of that is something, but modern days are modern days. I still want my own discs, though. I want my own disc just for when the inevitable time or day that streaming cuts out, and something is very important. And startups have ridiculous credit pausing that you have to fight to get to. Could well be. I don't know. General Sarnoff was one of the early heads of NBC, if not the founder. General because he was a retired general, or whatever. Colonel Sanders. I can't even think of Sarnoff's first name. I would not doubt it. With the families that are in media, I would not doubt it. Reed Pop sounds like a candy based on, yeah, I know. Well, see, there was Reed shows, Reed Entertainment. They did trade shows before they even thought about getting into. They have very much a mainstream business where they can play over here in pop culture. But that's years of history back there. Master Chief or Master Chef? Because I know Master Chief is Mary Chieffo, and she's as much a Klingon as Worf is. Plus, a Starfleet Academy show could show us the Earth of the 24th century. Ooh, might we finally go there past a couple of scenes in Picard? Very true. Very true. They could make it weed pop cola in certain states. There you are. See, this, Cairo, you're the fan that Reed Pop is just hoping pops up. You go for the event and the fans and really and meet and personally talk to people and could care less who the guest list is. Shh, don't spread it around, but that's what they're hoping they get here. You're so continental though. Hey, John X, you couldn't even get UPN. We were so poor. We were so isolated. Yeah. Wow. So you were doing the European model only a county away instead of an ocean away. There we go. Popular demand brought the station to your cable system. You mean like Star Trek had a hand in that? Could be. Could be. I'm not too far behind on the chat here. An Our Man Bashir continuation would be very interesting. I mean, I think Andy and Sid would be up for it, but and Terry, but that would be interesting. That would be interesting. Does Paramount CBS still own, run theme parks or maybe attractions in independent-ish amusement parks in the U.S.? They do. Like, yeah, there's Dave Rossi works in the arm of Paramount. That's when you hear these news stories about theme parks in China or the Middle East, Jordan. And there's license. They want recognizable brands. If they want something under the Viacom umbrella, whether it's Star Trek or Andy Griffith, they have to go and deal with now, what is it, Viacom CBS technically now, whatever the Uber Corporation name is. Yeah, they come and deal with them. So they may not own and run them. There may be an individual deal, but they have a deal to have a finger in the pie at least. Right. But the actual Paramount Parks division was sold off before the experience closed. It was Cedar Fair the last few years. Oh, yeah, Brent. Hey, good idea. Just for clarity, Doug's, and it's awesome. Doug's Federation Trading Post was the East Coast one. Now, I knew there was one, but closer to me was when I was a kid in Oklahoma, the one on the West Coast in Berkeley was the one that I ordered all my Klingon blueprints and my award. No, not those. I found an order coupon the other day for some stuff from Federation Trading Post, but I always ordered from the one in Berkeley. But I would have loved to have set foot in either one of them live back in the day. What are you saying here? We got about, I've got about 5-6 minutes left here. Well, yeah, Glenn. Yes, obviously. Yeah, they want people there. Hey, Susan. Well, talking about Michelle Yeoh filming her role in The Witcher in Blood Origins, and that it could be recurring. How would it fit in with Section 31? Is it possible to head to left? Yes. Welcome to the modern world. It's possible for people to be in movies and on TV at the same time, which used to be a bugaboo. I mean, the walls have come down. It's just a matter of schedules and the way these short and that's the other thing. It's these short seasons, these 10 episode, 12, 13 episode seasons. I love this. When you were stuck with a 26 episode show as a regular, you were lucky to go out and, do a play or cram a movie into that 3-month hiatus. And if you did that, you were like nonstop working. These short seasons, that is one thing. You can pop up on more than one series, much less do a series and a movie. So they would totally work on it, especially if they were in demand. if people were coming to them like they would be with Michelle, apparently, since they did the setup, well, then there you go. Yes, Zachary Levi and Yvonne Strahovski should be in a Trek show. I agree. I agree. And I know Zach would love to be. I know. Hey Jerry, an outlandish idea, a musical episode. Oh yes, and that Discovery cast, they'd be there in a heartbeat. Absolutely, I think the DS9 cast could have and would have done one in the day. Nana and late great Renee, notwithstanding, and Avery. Well, talk about this. They've got a bunch of. They're working on what's been shot so far. They're working on current seasons. They've got the 10 episodes of Prodigy, the back 10, which originally was a season 2, and then they decided to make it one big season 1. Lower Decks is supposed to start in fall-ish, Mike said, like September-ish. So we'll see if Disco is ready by then. They've been going for a while, but we did the math. We've been doing the math for a month or two. The announced slate right now will get us through the end of the year. So, yeah, counting those 10, counting Lower Decks and the 10 Prodigies, we might have animation back to back. But there you go. And Strange New Worlds is working on their new season. I mean, they're all moving along as fast as they can under COVID. Okay. I'm gonna have to watch. Oh, it's 2:55. I need to wrap it up, guys. How close to the? We've got internal. I still have my AOL. I use it for my junk email. It's what I give to things I don't really be a part of. It's very much that. Thank you guys for the end of the chats too. Hey Jerry, that's 2 of us. I gave them away, my VCR collection for TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. I gave away to a fan here, and when I thought they had no monetary value. But these shelves that I built to hold videotapes that I could put on the wall because I was tired of not being able to find competent ones in a store, I still have these shelves with adjustable shelves. Okay. I think so too, Jim. Physical media is important to own. Hello, Daniel. So I got you out with VCRs and VHSs, huh? Selectavision video discs. I think you will, yeah. Saying Haru back to you, Narda. You'd like to see Austria in the 21st century. I think they've managed to find homes for everybody. Blah blah blah. Try getting UPN in Canada. No thanks. Thank you. I am 6 minutes behind, so it took an Andy Griffith theme park to get you to pipe up, Anne Marie. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just think of the characters walking around playing everybody. And then they could have a Kirk and an Edith Keeler walk by Floyd's barbershop. Hey, Jerry, I think someday somebody's going to wake up and think that Assignment Earth could be Doctor Who-ish. Just saying. Yes, Dave is still in Paramount Amusement Park stuff. Yeah, I know. You'd think everything would be blown up by now, but there still is that. Weathering all the remerger storms of what it looks like. But yes, absolutely. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to shut it down here and say my thank yous because we haven't done that because today's been a different kind of show. So first off, I'm going to boom. Thanks, everybody. I'm not going to get to the last ones here, but thanks to all of our Patreon folks, our TTLers, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, and Marie Siegel, Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, and Blaze K. And our live wires, Rusty Harrell, Herbert Den Johnson, Jalen Bullock, Robert McLean, Alan Hoensi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, and Casey Shafsky. And if you were listening close, well, I'd love to have you. It's a fresh month, but the Patreon that I have is at patreon.com/TreklandLive. It's a simple $5 and $10 level. I still owe my live wires, their interview links. We're going to get on it. I got through the tunnel this week. We're going to get on it. Love for you to have you there. They bill it just like a PayPal, only it's their own system. And you heard me right. Trek Files will be back next week. You can still go check out the past 7 seasons, but we will be back with a new show next Tuesday at podcast.roddenberry.com or on Facebook at the Trek Files, wherever fine podcasts are sold and are downloaded. And yeah, Trek will be back. Dr. Trek and Dr. Ali on Life Support Live Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 European time. Love for you to join us there where we go boldly through uncertain times. And as for me, where you're watching right now, Larry Nemecek's Trekland, Facebook, YouTube, please like and subscribe if you're there, and even if you're not there. And it's that now on Instagram too. Twitter is still just at Larry Nemecek. Portal47.net is where to go if you want to deep dive with us every month. It's like a mini-con all year long, even with the virtual revolution. We're sharing stuff and doing things and have a great Portalius community. You heard us talk about it. That's going to do it for me, gang. Hey, everybody, please stay healthy. Do all the things. It ain't over till it's over. Stay woke. Check your sources, no matter what the subject matter is, and be open to something that maybe you didn't know about because no one ever taught you. And trek well, everybody.